Welcome to Heartspeak Podcast, harmonizing our unique self with the greater good. Well, hello there, wherever you are in the world. It's good to be back with you. And we are living at a time that is very contentious. There's the possibility of conflict. There's a possibility of reaction. And I thought this was a great time to step in and say, let's find harmony, not only with ourselves, but within the universe. So what's happening? So on the 18th of April, we have Mars eventually going into Leo. It's been in Cancer, the watery Cancer, for some time. So Leo is about spotlight, being in the spotlight, being a leader. So Mars actually intensifies our own feelings of leadership, our own feelings of wanting to be sovereign of our own lives. This isn't a time to step back. But because it's a fire sign and we already have quite a lot of planets in fire, then it's actually intensifying that creative urge we all have to say, now or never, let's do it. So we are on this sort of tipping point of, are we going to move into this new era of creative innovations that Neptune's bringing? Or are we going to step back and fall back into old patterns? And at the same time, we have the sun still just in Aries. We'll be moving into Taurus very soon, and we will have a Taurian new moon around the 26th of this month. And we have Pluto in Aquarius. So what's coming together around those times is what we call a T-square, which is Pluto opposite Mars, so Pluto in Aquarius, opposite Mars in Leo, square to the sun, and on the new moon also the moon in Taurus. So these T-squares are very active. They can cause conflict because you have an opposition and two squares, but they seek, how do we move through this? And what I was always taught about T-squares is you look for what is the fourth point of a T-square, which is actually Scorpio. And Scorpio at the moment is living with Lilith, who is the dark goddess. And Lilith says, let's bring things to the surface. Let's bring things to the surface so they can be destroyed, looked at, exposed, and whatever we need to do with them, transform them, move on. So we are seeing this extraordinary time of creativity, which feels like the springtime that I'm seeing outside in my garden. But at the same time, we are still moving through, you could say, a wintry time where everything's getting stirred up. And this is almost the two features of transformation taking place at the same time. The let's expose and transform or allow things to die at the same time that we're bringing new life. And any of you have worked with me with my women's work, a new moon is that classical time of those three phases. What needs to die, what needs to be brought to the fore, and what needs to be given birth to. So pay attention if you're listening to me before this new moon in Taurus. And at this time, it's really important to remember that this is not all about me and it's not all about you, it's about us. And that's why I wanted to talk about harmonization with the greater good. Leo has a tendency to think about itself. You know, where am I sovereign? What am I going to do? Where am I leading? Pluto in Aquarius is saying, what are we doing? Where are we changing? What are we bringing to the collective? Aquarius very much connected to communities and social idealism and new ideas and innovations. But they don't need to oppose each other, even though they're opposing each other in the chart. They're saying, how can I be my unique self and serve the greater good? At the same time, how can the greater good serve the growth of a unique self? And this is how telepathy worked in many cultures, and in fact works still in cultures who haven't lost their connection to the collective, and in different groups of animals and birds, especially the dolphins, where one dolphin may swim off on its own, but it's always connected to the pod, the energy of the pod, the collective consciousness of the pod. And if and when necessary, it comes back to that collective so they can move forward together. And so this is really about how do we both listen to our own inner desires and needs, but always keep in mind, am I moving away from even my own soul's needs or my higher self's needs? Where am I getting lost in my own little trajectory of my ego mind? And where do I need to come back and say, is this the best thing for my soul? Does this allow my soul to grow? Am I nurturing my soul or my higher self through this action? And it doesn't have to be difficult. It's not an either or. It's really saying, when I am in harmony with my soul, when I am saying every night before I go to bed, let me be in harmony with my soul, let me align to the greater good, or if you want to say God's good or the creator, whatever you believe in. Once we align to the universal will, and again, it's not an individual like telling you what to do, but when we're in alignment to that beautiful flow of collective consciousness that grows with me, then everything becomes easier. When we're fighting against it or saying, I'm not going to be part of that, nobody's going to tell me what to do, then things become very bouncy and sometimes a little destructive. And what I always say about illness is not a problem, it's a solution. It's a message from the soul saying, think you might have just strayed a little way from your own soul's path. Come back. And so there are many episodes in our lives where it's nothing wrong with going off on a tangent, but the further we get from the source of our creativity, the less likely we are to be able to succeed and to flourish. If you think of a plant that moves too far away from the source of water or source of nourishment, I'm sorry, but that plant will die because it can't survive so far from its origins, from its source of nourishment. So sometimes when things don't work for us, it's not that we have to put more energy in. Maybe we're straying away from the pattern that is our soul's blueprint. And again, nobody's going to stop you doing that. It's just that when you get tired or things just don't work, or I don't know, you're running out of money, or you're just not feeling there's a flow of energy into what you're doing, and you're not feeling it because you're tired, etc., and then probably you need to come back home. You need to come back into the mothership. And this was a meditation I received many years ago, which was a really valuable one, where I saw myself on a long spaceman's lead, that goes out from the spaceship. And I'm out there on this long lead, helping everybody, rescuing everybody, doing what I know how to do. And the owner of the spaceship, which was actually me, but the spaceship said to me, we need to move forward, but we can't while you're out there on that limb, on that very fragile limb, because we can't move at that speed that we need to, because otherwise we'll lose you. So you've got to come back on board for us to be able to move forward. And of course, in my usual way, I said, yes, but look at all the people who need me to help them, in my arrogant way. And of course, they weren't convinced. The higher self of my soul said, not convinced by this argument. Anyway, I came back on board, and we then went into warp speed into the future. So I'm only saying it's not that anybody's going to tell you off. It's just that there are times where the desire to do what we want to do and to finish something or to get closure, or I don't know, to make someone else suffer for what they did to us, etc., is actually no longer in harmony with our soul. So it might be that you just want to, I want to make sure this happens, but actually it's now out of alignment with you and also out of alignment with the greater good. So during these times, and I'm saying anywhere from about the 18th to the 28th of April and beyond, but these times probably into the beginning of May, it's really important not just to react. And I spoke about this before, but this is a very reactionary time. And there will be lots of things, if you watch the news, watch anything, yes, I'm going to get involved with that. Because Mars in Leo does have this sort of activist role. But I always say two things. One is who's pulling your strings? Who's creating the story that's making you or I react? Follow the money, because it's never as clear cut as we always are told it is. This doesn't equal this. I'm sorry. And that's what's now becoming more evident, that there are many layers of different timelines acting in on this particular time. In other words, old resentments, old wars, old energies are being awoken at this time, and they are impacting what happens on the earth at this time. Now, I could just take you to this deeper level to say that, as you may know, we are presently passing through this huge photonic wave current of galactic energy. Let's call it information, light information. And that light information is lighting up our huge library of DNA that's been sleeping for so long. And in that DNA, that 91% that was called junk DNA, are many seeds from different galactic groups, many galactic ET groups were planted their seeds in our DNA, and I'll say in the human DNA, so that we would carry them and incubate them until the time was right for them to awaken. Humanity has reached this level of consciousness, and then there's this wave that we're passing through from the galaxy that is awakening these seeds. This means that all the seeds that are carried from hundreds of thousands of years of different intergalactic wars and intergalactic inventions and intergalactic whatevers are all awakening within humanity. And because of that, sometimes we are sparked by something inside us and say, oh, I've got to react to this. But it's not of this timeline. It's hundreds of thousands of years old. And so what we're needing to say is, okay, it's growing, it's being generated, it's motivated to become active. What do I want to do with it? And this is why I'm really stressing the importance of not reacting, but saying, okay, yeah, that happened then, but it's not happening now, so I'm not going to give it energy. Now, you don't need to go that far back into hundreds of thousands of years to maybe understand what I'm saying. That if your grandparents were born at a certain time, my grandparents were part of First, Second World Wars, then they have a certain belief system about all of that what they went through. But it's not my world now. But because we carry even just that information, despite all the seeds in our DNA, but we carry at least 7 generations of information in us that is influencing us. It's very easy to waken up one of those and say, yes, that's what I feel. But this is a time to say, hang on a minute, that's not my timeline. It's not my life. And even though I can appreciate how you felt then, maybe, I'm not going to give energy to it. So my message today is lots is being woken up. A lot of astrologers are talking about, oh, last time this happened and this happened. This was when we had a civil war. This is when this happened. This is when that happened. All of that's true, but we are not the same people as we were then. So just because 2 planets come together, it doesn't mean we have to have the same reaction. And we are not the same people as we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We're not the same person that we were when we were 3 or 4 years old. You might say, that was my childhood. Well, it's a part of you that relates to that. But in, if I may say, parallel life thinking, that part of you has just carried on in its sweet life. You are different in a different timeline already now. Okay, I won't get too lost there. but your past does not equate to your present. You can resonate with pieces of it because it is in your present now, but then you have a choice what you do with it. So, stepping back, do not react. This is not your timeline. This is not your story. That might have happened to a different part of you, or to someone else, or to a galactic being in an ancient war. Or you might say, yeah, I fancy getting involved with that war. Or a seed that's waking up inside you is saying, do you remember that skill that is planted in you? In other words, old skills, old, I shouldn't say old, intergalactic skills are waking up inside you. It's not the fact that you might have been a Palladian or a Syrian or Arcturian. It's more that what were the skills that were planted in me that now I need to nourish, bring to the forefront. So we are going to see amazing, innovative ideas coming forward as these seeds of our DNA are waking up. And this is an exciting time for creative innovations. And as we harmonize with the greater good, I believe we're going to be less inclined to have innovations that are based on destruction, war, defenses, and more on how do we collectively integrate with? How do we unify? How do I get closer to you through telecommunications? Not putting something up that will destroy. So that, I think, is also one of the messages for today is, what are you doing that is bringing you closer to yourself, bringing you closer to who you are, bringing closer to the collective? And just listening to Zach and Pam Gregory, they're saying our energetic field is 5 times more active than it was last year. I'll take it for that. But this means that we are now able to resonate at higher frequencies or more expansive frequencies with the world around us. And as we do that, we're informed, we're telepathically communicating with our world around us. So every time you're out on a walk and you feel really close, oh, I'm going to go and see that tree, or I'm going to go and walk to that water, or I heard that bird, you'll notice things brighter, louder, more resonant. And what's happening is there's an exchange of information. And that information just isn't, oh, I'm downloaded. It's like, wow, I'm remembering who I am. That as we resonate with something that is outside ourselves, it awakens more of that DNA. So we are in this awakening process of something we've carried for a very long time, or our human bodies have. And we are fortunate enough to be in these human bodies to have this experience. So I hope I'm putting you into a good space. Yes, as I said at the start, there is a potential of old wounds, old problems coming to the surface, and someone wanting to, that's it, I'm going to go to war against this. But this is actually not in alignment to the greater good. There's nothing that anything in the universe wants us to do is involved with war and destruction. There has never been a good outcome for any of that. So every time we go to war, it's almost the universe goes, oh goodness, here they go again. It's not to say we all have to agree, but we have to find ways of moving forward in a constructive way that's good for all and not a destructive way. As the sun goes into Taurus, and we have the Taurian new moon, as I say, 26th, 27th, I would say it's a great time to connect to the earth, good time to root into the earth, spend time in your garden. It is a time to be in tune with your body. It might be a time of changing of your money. People are talking about how money, again, currency may change. And obviously, Taurus is very much about security, so that you may see challenges to your security. Oh my goodness, am I going to have enough? But the more we root and align, root into the earth and align to the good of all, abundance has to be there for us, because we cannot start any creative process that's in alignment with the greater good without receiving everything we need for that to become successful. So I'm leaving you with those thoughts. For those who celebrate Easter, a happy Easter. I say a happy new moon in Taurus. And let's move forward together in our sovereignty, in our powerfulness as unique selves, in harmony with the greater good. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the HeartSpeak podcast with Dr. Christine Page. Please check out all HeartSpeak episodes in the podcast archive section on www.christinepage.com. HeartSpeak is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Tumblr, and now playing on Amazon Music and iHeartRadio. You can also watch the archive podcast on Christine's channel, on YouTube, and now on Rumble. Connect with Christine on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook group, The Great Mother Calling. Do share with family, friends, colleagues. Join us next time for another edition of HeartSpeak.